Alright, we are recording, continuing Going Medieval, cues provided by Tinsley PR. However long ago now. I got things I can talk about. One is, hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. And I will admit, I made a note on that because I do forget days of the week kind of thing. I mean, it's just things blend together and stuff like that. Significant holidays, unfortunately, does fall on that list. Alright, what research? You're just... at some point, I'm gonna have to just do this because it annoys me. I, I'll be honest, I don't care about the ice making. I don't understand the purpose to it. I'm saying, I get the whole, oh, it's to help you preserve stuff, but it just, I don't know how to control it properly. Because, I mean, what, it would just be... like, in here. This is where most of the food ends up going. Well, the uncooked food, I should say. And then most of the cooked food would go here. So, like, okay, I would just tell it that, and it's also where is it in here? I'm sorry, this is just starting to trigger my whole, they really need to overhaul so much of the UI of this game. Like, put a search in. It's even a, like, you know, favorites thing. Okay, ice block. But it's like, you know, I get the whole, okay, then you can, it'll be put in here, but it's, yeah, but is it like a, hey, I can put a torch wherever I want. And I can make sure that, wait, do we have it do it? Well, that'll kind of work. Okay. So it is warmer. I thought there was a way to actually have it show the lighting. The reach of the light. But anyway. Okay, maybe... no, because that's kind of blended together. Okay. But you can see how it's lighter here and then colder out here. Although not by much. Wow, it's that... a tenth of a degree is enough to go from green to blue. Anyway, in theory, I think the ice works that way as well. So have the ice here and it'll be colder near it and then warmer further around it. Well, I can say, hey, I want the torch here, and that's where it goes. I can't do that with ice. I mean, it really is dumb. It should, if anything, the way that should be done is a fine. You make it with the ice maker, but then you say, yeah, you know, I don't need to have a storage spot that puts it. No, it's a, hey, here's an ice container. Here's an ice container, so it's still is stored in those specific places. But here, just because I can, let's. I don't even know if that. Okay, I had a feeling it would do. Okay, clear all material manufactured. Ice. And I need to do that. That is also that way. I mean, to be fair, the majority of the food over here should be cooked, so that should be preserved. But yeah, let's turn that off. Do that. Huh, unlike 25 research items achievement. Sure. But yeah, so now that would, the ice made, they will only go to that one spot. Oh wait, no, it'll also go here. But... okay, they would compete, so they'd go to both. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off from here. I was like, there's no benefit to it being there. Sure. What? Why would production speed be low? But there. Anyway. Yeah, I know animals are hungry. You're always... What else have I got? So yeah, I got that. Partly I'm just thinking what order do I want to go in. Yeah, I guess I can go to that one then. Okay. Okay, I will admit, this is not something I care specifically too much about, but I know it is significant, so I did want to cover it. Kingdom Hearts is coming to Steam. It's already on Epic, as I recall, but Square Enix has decided that, hey, we'll bring it to Steam as well, which makes sense. Steam is still the dominant platform. Dominant PC platform, so if you want it on PC, eventually you have to get it there. Oh, these guys, that they are cold. Does that make them unhappy or anything? Ah, they seem fine. They seem to not care. Oh, that does remind me. How's the stuff doing here? Alright. So in theory, I do that. And it is warm enough for them to keep being made. Now, unfortunately, it is encouraging the rock, but I'll still take what I can get. Okay, seriously, none of you are supposed to be outside working, so see. Okay, I guess I can try to increase their sleep, but I mean, it's still annoying. Actually, I see that now. They get lots of that. I don't even remember why it is I did that for him. There's a reason. It might be from that. But you know what? Hey, I'm just gonna. Everyone's on the same. Yeah, that's right. Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, apparently it's the Dark Seeker Saga, whatever that really translates to. I'm sorry, I don't know these games. I get that they are well liked, but that's a bug. Anyway, but it's just I've not played them. I can still respect them because a lot of people really like them. I get that. That's great, but oh, come on, nope, that's not what I want to do. There. But yeah, so for those of you that are like, oh man, these are great games, hey, they're coming to Steam. Like, get that stuff out of here. Okay. I couldn't quite remember if I had that on things. June 13th, I just remembered, yeah, is when the Kingdom Hearts games are coming. Devolver Digital is having a Devolver Direct on June 7th, which is going, well, I mean, it's a press event from Devolver Digital. It's always going to be a little weird, and somewhat interesting, but they also promising it is Volvy's 15th birthday that will be celebrated, so for those of you that don't remember, Devolver Digital has like their own cinematic, it's really more public relations universe, like how you've got the Marvel Cinematic Universe where there's this very convoluted, twisted, silly continuity. The most recent involved basically a temporal event that had all, I'm trying to remember because I haven't looked at it for a while, but basically like all game development, all publishers, all that became one. And it also resulted in supposedly like a rewriting of the timeline where Devolver, though not any older, had Volvi as their mascot from the beginning, which it was introduced at that time. It's not actually Volvi's not actually that old and has been in various games. So they like actually edited him into a bunch of their games. So yeah, this has potential to be quite unusual. Yeah. I'm sorry, I would actually like something done with this. Can I get that high enough to... No, it doesn't seem like it. Alright. Turn that off. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind the refueling, I don't, but I would like to do that. I also want the other one too. Not sure how long it'll take, but yeah, get that going. So yeah, I've got Devolver Digital's weird, so I'm kind of looking forward to it just to see what silliness that they end up doing now, but it's also a Devolver Digital's weird. What are they going to be doing? Just takes wood, that's easy. That's right. Longbows. Come on. What else have we got on this? No, the Steel Nomad, I think. Yeah, go with that one next. So... Sorry, I just saw I got an email. I'm a little curious. Ah, okay. So yeah, 3D Mark has released Steel Nomad, their newest benchmark, which is a non-ray tracing benchmark. So it's meant as a replacement to Time Spy. I will admit I've not done anything with that knowledge yet. I've not tried running it. I do have the test system up. It's not doing anything. You know what? Here, give me a moment. Well, it's gonna have to download it and probably do other updates. I wonder if I can. Well, yeah, I usually do split my focus, don't I? But I'll see if maybe I can get it to run, download and run, in time. It is taking a while to come up. One thing that complicates the situation a little bit is it's the same mouse I use when I'm playing the game on this and the test system, so I can't like do both at the same time, like even just move my hand back and forth. And obviously it's a different screen. Anyway, but yeah, it's a non-ray tracing benchmark, as said, so a Time Spy replacement. Well, more so a Time Spy Extreme replacement, because it's a 4K native resolution, a 4K native benchmark. Time Spy, I'm pretty sure, is a 1440p native. Firestrike was a 720p native. No, was a 1080p native. Firestrike Extreme was 1440, and then Firestrike Ultra is 4K. I don't know how many people might still be using Firestrike, but I'm pretty sure that is how that laid out. So this is designed for 4K. And I can't really think of more to add than that. I mean, it's meant as the successor to TimeSpy. It is free to everyone. Multi-platform, so it's on Windows, Windows for ARM, Android and iOS, Mac OS and Linux are coming. What else did they say? They've also changed the name. Oh, that's nice. They've also changed the names for the different 3D Mark versions. So instead of, I need to tell to install it. Instead of it being 3D Mark Basic, Advanced, and Professional, it is now 3D Mark Demo, 3D Mark, just 3D Mark, and 3D Mark for Enterprise. So that means then that the free version is the 3D Mark Demo, which is an appropriate name. 3D Mark is 3D Mark Advanced, that's the version you pay for, and then 3D Mark for Enterprise is what I am actually using because they provided keys for, being a journalist with OCC. I'm on their press list, so I count as a journalist. But yeah, I'm sorry, I just have other things, other priorities. So that's why I didn't bother with getting some of this stuff sorted out. Interesting. It's like a new launch thing. Come on. It's scanning system info. Just take one. Now starting to write. There we go. It's going to ask about other updates, I know. Yep. Yeah, go ahead and close your own service in order to update it. Hopefully you don't... I'm taking back control of the laptop. Yeah. Oh, did it finish? Seems like it may have finished. Okay. Oh, that's a little funny. Well, I guess maybe the key is still labeled a Professional Edition key. I have it installing Steel Nomad now. What? You're kidding. It's gotten warm enough just before. Like, it's literally rounding to 100%. Son of a bitch. Well, at least it should work at night. Okay, and... Sure. You go and barter, and what were you working? Summer clothes, okay. Which is not something I want to sell, though. I don't need a research table, or those forges. They have nothing I want, so just selling things. Well, they should all be wearing winter clothes, so we can actually sell those. And then hopefully just make some. Make some come on. Alright, so what would be nice to have? It's like I already have Blacksmith Forge built, and I don't have much need for it. Could try to take all those chronicles. That's still gonna get me Parkway. Wait, what? Oh, that's per. Alright, sure. That'll work. Those are actually practical. The gold isn't. Wow, only at 2% installing. Anyway. So, yeah, I'll try to tell you what the result is, assuming this finishes in time. Yep. So, The Witcher 3 got some neat news this week. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking, what do I want to... On horseback? Didn't know we even had that yet. I think I'd like that. Okay, so I will need to start making mechanical components. Where the hell do I do that? Is that... Okay, that's... There. There. That'll work. Anyway, yeah, so The Witcher 3, okay, I will admit, I don't remember the timeline for all this stuff. Because I know that there have been mods for The Witcher 3 for a while. But, they have finally released the Red Kit, modding tools for The Witcher 3, which basically, this, in theory, is supposed to be, like you could build the game with these tools. And I think that is what what CD Projekt Red tries to do with their Red Kits, is this is what you need for making the game itself. So very powerful tools then. Wait a minute, I'm confused. These are empty. Material. Okay. I'm just where. Oh. Are you kidding? Priority low. Priority very high. They put it over there. Yeah, cools down the area around it. I'm sorry, but it's like, then it really should be like the torches, where you can say, I want it here. Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry, if anyone's like, oh, well, you can just put down, a single tile in the middle of it, and from that, then it's, you control it that way. It's like, no, that is as far from appropriate as it should be, as it can be, I mean. Because that is far too much intervention that the player has to make for hey, I made this thing, and I told you to produce these things, okay? It legitimately should be like that. And no, I guess it shouldn't be like you should just put these down wherever you want the storage to be, and then it stays near that. That it makes more sense to have it, like where I have it next to a river, and then to move them somewhere else. But still, this is just the game needs such an overhaul in so many ways like that. Anyhow, yeah, reviewing this whenever that time comes is gonna be interesting. But yeah, coming back to the Witcher 3 Red Kit. Yeah, the game released in 2015. It does support Steam Workshop, so that's neat. If you have a Steam copy, mine is GOG. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's neat that this is now completely public, so everyone has access to it. Which I think might be the distinction, that there were, that it was available before, but not, but not to everyone. Like, it was just certain modders that got access. So yeah, I could see that being the case. Hey, now that move them over to there only, but whatever. But yeah, it just, and also it does make sense that they would release at least an update now, because it was the beginning of the year when we had that next gen update to the game. So it still is. I love The Witcher 3. It is an easy game for me to recommend, and I do not doubt that it still holds up very well today. But it still is. This would have been more helpful 7 years ago. Okay, I mean, just, yeah, I don't really know what to think of that. The last thing I've noted is it's a thing. So apparently, yeah, I just realized I want to slaughter some more, I think. So it has gone around that apparently, I don't know the exact source of this. I probably should have actually looked that up. Here, you know what? I'll look it up now. Microsoft recall. That's the name of the feature. Okay. Okay, so it looks like this is in fact like, hey, we're doing this. Not it leaked out. But it's, I mean, holy crap. I mean, hey. The simplest way I can think to put it for what I've seen this described as is, well, here, let me, yeah. The simplest way I can think to put it is this. If I worked at Microsoft in a high enough executive position that the people doing this answered to me, the person whose idea it was would be fired. The person who approved the idea would be fired. If that meant that entire freaking department ceased to exist, I'd be okay with that. Because this is so far from being a good idea that it's a, no, you are fired because I can't even just tell you it's a bad idea. This is screaming a never should have even been thought of idea. Well, okay, no, you can think of it, but not out loud. So what it does, and this is because I have the actual FAQ for how does Recall work. Recall uses Copilot plus PC advanced processing capabilities to take images of your active screen every few seconds. Snapshots are encrypted and saved in your PC's hard drive, and you can then locate the content and view it as like a timeline to see what you're doing a little bit ago. But it's still, it takes a screenshot of your desktop every so often. What the hell is wrong with you? There is no way this is okay. And it's even funnier because I've seen some places pointing out, yeah, there's actual laws that this will violate. It's like, you can't do this in Europe because of the GDPR. I mean, it's like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Oh boy. It's mainly gonna be chickens, I think I'll be slaughtering. You're old enough. So are you. Over a year. I mean, I've got enough chickens. I can just do that. Don't have as many deer. Still is. You're getting... You're a bit old, so I can slaughter you. Plenty of goats. I think 2 years old is enough, especially when I've got this many. And seriously, you need to be able to do more powerful queries than this. I mean, this is insane. And to help put this in context, during the week, because I do work with some SQL, in my case, more so SQL-like tables, databases, I set some stuff up to like do groupings. So basically, it would be like taking this, and well, it would end up being sorted by this, and it would just like give me the names of all of them, and then just say like dear, and then all the stuff there, but also would be formatted for for some automatic document generation. I'm saying it's actually pretty neat what I managed to pull off there, as opposed to just having it essentially generate a single column here, formatted as needed, but a single column. It would actually be grouping it out. So it's like, I know this is doable. I don't know what systems it is that they're using, but it's like, seriously, this is a database. Give us more powerful database tools. Anyhow, but yeah, with Copilot, what the hell are they thinking at Microsoft? Especially as this being presented as a, hey, this is coming, not a, hey, we're trying this. What do you although I think it is technically in technical preview at the moment, meaning that there will be people able to give feedback. It's not like this is rolling out today. But still, I mean, it's just, this is a terrible idea. There's no way I would ever turn this on. I would actively try to figure out how to disable it, because it is so terrible an idea. I wanted to see how long I had been going. Because, it takes a snapshot. So you can then figure out, what were you doing a little bit ago? Okay, this is already a dumb idea just on that, because it's like, if I don't remember what I was doing a little bit ago, I don't care. I'm sorry. It's like, if it isn't important enough for me to remember, it isn't important enough for me to want to go back to it. And as far as something like, oh, but what if it's, like you're working on a document, you want to undo some changes. It's like, yeah, that's why you use saves intelligently. There's Control-Z, and also things like Git for version control. And I will do that. I will like stage something just so it's okay, this is where it's functional. I want to keep experimenting with things. Oh, I broke it. Okay, what did I have before? I can see it undo. It's like you have other solutions there, and we really don't need Microsoft trying to give us new ones like that. But it's also the idea that the AI, and I didn't read it in there, but I'm pretty sure that is part of it, that the AI would actually read the images so that you could then ask it questions and would tell you things based on what you've done previously. Based on stuff in the screenshots. It's like, this is all a terrible idea, because that means things like usernames definitely, but potentially also passwords if things are not being properly hidden. Well, let's say, it's, you just want to view the password because it's like, wait, is this the password I think it is? You're not just a blind copy and paste. But it's like, is this password I think it is? So you want to read it. Yeah, you do that now it can be captured in a screenshot. Now, apparently Microsoft has answered some questions that Edge will tell it, hey, don't capture this stuff. And private windows won't be seen, but it's like, yeah, not everybody uses Edge. Oh, well, it works with Chromium browsers in general. Not everybody uses a Chromium browser. There is no way this is a good idea. It's like, that's why it's like full on opening a Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The people who had the idea have been sacked. The people responsible for the sacking have been sacked, and so on and so forth. That's how bad an idea this is. And it is also, I would add this, that because of the whole, why do you want people to lose their jobs? It's like, if they're good at their jobs, like the engineers that would be putting this together are probably good enough that they'd be able to find new work. But also, to be fair, I doubt it was an engineer who thought of it. This is probably somebody more so in like a marketing department, or just somebody who doesn't need to think about, is this ethical? Is this legal? Somebody who doesn't need to think about that stuff is probably who thought of it. Oh man, I mean, it is just so abysmally bad of an idea. Oh. And the worst part, in some ways the worst part of it, is that they're going to backtrack. I'm sorry, there is no way in hell Microsoft will not backtrack on this. It is so terrible an idea. And they're going to catch such flack for it, and deservedly. The worst part is of how much this damages Microsoft's reputation. And I know plenty of people are like, well, their reputation is crap anyway. Yeah, but it still is. It's the majority operating system. It's the dominant operating system. This is gonna make people's opinion of them worse, and that's not good for them. I'm saying this is not what I did, but I legitimately considered And part of the reason is because my old laptop died. But I had considered the idea potentially with this laptop is actually running some version of Linux and just virtualizing Windows in it. I thought about doing that. But I needed something up and running quickly. And preferably not needing to go through so many hoops to get certain things working. You know what, we'll just get it. Resource. I'm not sure where carcasses would be. Ah, there it is. I just didn't see it before. But yeah, and I'm just trying to think what alternative. Well, here, let me. I'm just reading the FAQ again. Okay, so it looks like it is meant to be basically a, hey, what was I doing a little bit ago kind of thing. It's meant to give you that information. And it's like, I don't think most people would even want that. I mean, it would be one thing if it were like, I mentioned I was working on some SQL stuff before, right? It would be one thing if it were a, hey, Copilot, take an image of this text file I'm working on, because that's text code that I'd be working in, plain text code. Take an image of that, scan it. I'm trying to do this. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Where it's like, I'm telling it to take an image and what to take an image of. That's one thing. This just being a, we're monitoring everything, your AI is monitoring everything you're doing. It is storing this data somewhere on your computer as well. This screams dumb idea because it's like, okay, in theory, all someone needs to do is get access to those files and figure out what the encryption key is, which, yeah, encryption can be very hard to break. Not always, though. I mean, it's just, and it is still the whole, it's not appropriate for the system to be like, hey, I'm just constantly monitoring what you're doing like this. It isn't. And there's also stuff, because, like, I write stories. I've talked about that plenty of times before, no secret there. But I choose to do things so that the files are only for me. It's like, one thing, because I've written some stuff up and done a video talking about my process, I use Microsoft Word 2010, so a completely local install version of my desktop, because that's what it has. And on the laptop, I'm using LibreOffice. Now, you can use something like Google Docs. It's a fine word processor. I wouldn't. I have multiple reasons for that. Among them is I don't want it up on a server for Google. If I had Microsoft 365, I wouldn't use that either because I don't want it up there. File syncing, I can handle my own way, and I do. Okay, so it's like I don't have that concern. I don't want to be able to write it on my phone. I don't need that. I want complete control over this. I don't want Google to be able to scan a document and be like, are you sure you want it this way? It's like, get the hell away from my story. Okay? I mean, it's just, it is only a bad idea. And it's what they want to do. I just, it just reminds me of something, what was that? I'll make this the last day in here. But I saw something a few weeks ago, I think it was, where somebody basically talking about how, yeah, Microsoft is being, at least as far as Windows is concerned, is being run by marketing people. Is not being run by engineers. And that's part of the reason why you see some of the issues. It's like, hey, we're going to throw advertising in everywhere, because that's good for marketing. But it leaves issues, it ends up with various issues being left because the people who are like, hey, I want to fix this, or hey, this needs to be fixed, they're not being listened to. They're not the ones making decisions. People telling them, oh, but we want it to look fancy. It's like, yeah, it'll look fancy, but it will run like crap. Give me a month. I'll get it running smooth. It's like, but I want it to look good. And it's just, yeah. Yeah. I have to use Microsoft products. I have to use Windows for various reasons. But it still is Windows 10 is nice. Windows 7 was nice before it, but needed to go to Windows 10 eventually. Windows 11 is what I'm using. Doesn't mean I want to be using it necessarily, but it's what I'm using on the laptop. Now I'm just trying to think, will Microsoft ever collapse? No. Not in the current situation, no. You need to understand one thing about Microsoft, because it's like, oh, but all these other companies, I mean, Microsoft might have layoffs, but Microsoft has things that basically guaranteeing them billions of dollars a year. They do enough with things like Azure, with their, I mean, it's the same thing with Amazon, Google, Meta, so forth, where they have data centers that they rent out access to. That makes them many millions, likely to billions of dollars a year. They can fund stupid shit like this recall feature because they have all that money. Yeah. That's why, no, they won't collapse. And especially with AI stuff, where data centers are more and more important, they're not collapsing. Because it's like TSMC. TSMC is going to make plenty of money because they have the bleeding edge of chip manufacturer technology. Intel is behind them. Samsung is behind them. But Intel and Samsung are still guaranteed like billions of dollars every year, especially Samsung, because they can manufacture stuff at near bleeding edge. And Intel is working on that because what was the name? What's the name of their foundry thing where they are starting to allow other companies to come to them to manufacture stuff? Part of the reason they did that is that's very lucrative business. So yeah, I mean it's not that some of these companies are too big to fail. It's that some of these companies have money printing machines. So, I mean, at least on one hand, that does mean, in theory, they don't need external money. They're just always going to be getting it. As opposed to too big to fail, which is kind of a pejorative, and deservedly so, where it's like, they're just so big, things are so reliant on that means money that they don't deserve, that they don't earn, they're going to get to ensure their continued existence. Even if, objectively, they should be allowed to collapse and die. I mean, for what it's worth with some of that stuff, it's just, I do recognize that we are not talking about zero-sum games. A lot of people seem to think that that's how various things work, but it isn't. I mean, it's, especially not with the economy. I mean, the economy, it's nonsense to think of the economy as zero-sum. Because the nature of an economy is to grow, except when it is obsessively regulated and controlled externally. Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah. But that's also, I will add, that is one thing. So, with the whole, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to mention the data center stuff with the AI. There's no way that will be broken until people start realizing AI is not that great in a specific way. So, I saw something. Where was it that I saw? I don't quite remember, but it was talking about, and this is relevant to AI, I promise. I'll just let me tell it, and then I'll work my way back to it. They figured somebody managed to design and build, I think it was in Iceland, this thing that lets, it basically scrubs CO2 out of the atmosphere. I don't know what kind of processing it may do, but then it shoots it into the ground for long-term storage. This is an idea that I've seen talked about in other places. As an idea, like they've actually built the thing. But they've been doing, but they have this set up, and it's like, hey, this thing that's, I don't remember how large, is a little bit more efficient than trees. Like the same, you would need a slightly larger area of trees to achieve the same amount of carbon capture. And so some people will be like, oh, great, isn't this wonderful? We can do carbon capture now in this way, and it's more efficient than trees. It's like, okay, no, it's not. Because that thing is taking energy that the trees don't. The thing is taking materials that the trees don't. The thing is taking energy to manufacture and process the materials that the trees don't. That thing is taking energy, materials, resources, time to maintain that the trees don't. AI is kind of like this as well, where some of the stuff that they want to do with AI is stuff that can be done by people. Okay? Or just, you can train yourself, like the whole recall thing. You can just try to improve your memory so you don't need to look back. So it's like, what is the actual benefit here? Or the whole, hey, help me with this code. I was like, in some cases, that's not a help me with this code. It's a, I don't, like, SQL. I've learned how to do stuff in SQL. Well, technically SQLite, but close enough for now. I've learned how to do that. I've taught myself how to do that. I don't need an AI to do it all for me. It is more efficient in every respect for me to do that than for me to rely on the AI, especially because how is that AI trained? By having a data center go through things to try to figure out patterns. By having people invest potentially dozens of hours to hundreds of hours even, telling it the logic for SQL. I mean, it is such a massive investment that, and continued cost. I mean, true, energy, by and large, is cheap. Okay, that it is. It's more expensive now than it has been previously for various reasons. But it is still relatively cheap, and it can be cheaper. There are things we can do to make it a lot cheaper. We're not doing those things, but we could. Anyway, it's just, we're throwing things at these, we're throwing resources, energy, time at so-called solutions. I do air quotes, but I'm on mic, so so-called solutions to problems that's like, okay, these solutions, though, are inherently inefficient compared to existing solutions, such as planting more trees. Now, I will grant there are certain exceptions for this, although I'm kind of wondering how efficient that would be. That the device, if you're putting it somewhere that trees cannot grow, now it is going to be potentially worth it, although I don't know how much CO2 is necessarily in some of those areas. I would expect CO2 to be concentrated where people are, and people tend not to be where trees cannot grow. I mean, that is a fair point. I mean, it is. So it's like, oh, well, we could put this in a desert. It's like, yeah, how much CO2 is there in a desert? Because there's not many people. There's not many natural processes there either that would produce CO2. So it might not be there in large enough quantities for it to be worth it. Whereas many cities, there are trees not that far away. Even, yes, the city itself might not have many trees within it, although we can try to increase the number of trees in there. But you start going outside of it, and it's like, okay, you can run into trees even in just suburbia. And definitely when you go further out with more rural areas, there's lots of trees, and certainly plenty of places you can't put in more trees. So it's like, how is that not the better solution? I was like, you're trying to make something that at best is impersonating a tree, but you're having to invest all this time and energy and resources to achieve this impersonation when you could just do the real thing. It's kind of like, also, I hate this idea of lab-grown meat, because it's like, okay, we can grow it, and it's like, hey, it's more efficient because we're able to directly convert these chemicals into the food that you want to eat. It's like, yeah, but how much energy is that taking to do? How are you making those chemicals? What kind of chemistry? And some of that stuff is very weird and screwy. And like it's one of those kind of like, if you read the ingredients on an energy drink, it might make you think, I probably shouldn't drink this. It can be like that. And it's like you having to spend all that time and energy versus having a cow. The cow is already a very efficient mechanism for converting grass, in some cases, one type of food, a plant that I don't want to eat, into something I do want to eat. Beef. Why do we need to come up with a different solution for this? Because I get the whole exploring it, the basic science aspect of trying to better understand how it works. I get that. That's fine. But to be like, we're going to build an entire business around this, it's like, you're an idiot. There is no way you're going to be able to do it better than the cow. You're just not. Because especially the cow gives you other things. Like there's leather you can get from the cow that is useful for a great many things. There's also, if you look up, here, let me actually see, because I'm not in the game. Let me actually try looking this up. Because I know what it's referred to, I just don't know what the right search term would be. Okay, that would not be it. Damn, that is annoying. Hang on, maybe? Okay. Maybe. Okay, so this does have some of it. That's kind of weird. I didn't realize it was named that, though. So there's this concept of the fifth quarter, which apparently, if you want to search for it as quinto quattro. Yeah, let me just check that. Unfortunately, that also refers to a cuisine. That's not what we're talking about here. Anyway, the idea is we'll talk about quarters of a cow. All right, so different quarters, and it is referring to the like a side of beef. It's just referring to get the meat off of the animal, right? And obviously, 4/4 would be a whole, but there's a fifth quarter. That's the stuff that you're not using for meat or leather. It's everything else. Such as tallow is one thing that I saw mentioned when I was looking this up. Unfortunately, there was a movie and book titled The Fifth Quarter that's something else entirely, so just looking it up isn't going to get you there. But there's a wealth of other materials that you can get out of an animal. And like tallow, I saw quickly mentioned is one of them, that you can use that for different things. And actually, here, let me try to bring that back up. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. So yeah, tallow, one thing, and it's used in, here it has anti-aging antioxidants, rich in various vitamins. It seems a little oddly written. This is just talking about when applied to skin. It resembles human skin cell structure, maintains integrity of skin cells, promotes skin cell regeneration. I mean, it's basically, okay, so this is like just talking about the tallow, it looks like. But it can be used in things such as, I guess, skincare treatment, but also potentially cosmetics. Okay, I mean, there's a wealth of things you can get there. Well, if you're just manufacturing in a lab via potentially disgusting methods, or at least things that would appear disgusting, to be fair. I mean, if you know what's going on, it probably wouldn't be disgusting. But anyway, that by trying to produce the meat directly, you don't have these other things. So actually, here's a different example. I do like the idea in general. I think it needs to be done properly, and we're not going to do it that way because it's not going to sound as silver bullety. But artificial photosynthesis, where basically you capture CO2 from the air, you also add in water and energy, and you can produce different hydrocarbons, such as methane and propane, which you would use for natural gas. And you might even be able to get it to larger things, such as octane for gasoline and so on, right? I think that's a great thing to explore. And just the way I would set that up, because wind and solar, I think, are terrible technologies. I mean, it's like they're unreliable, but I mean, you need a buffer there. And this is well acknowledged. You need a buffer. You need some sort of battery system. Why not use this? Tie that into artificial photosynthesis. Because right now, artificial photosynthesis, yes, we can do it. It's energy inefficient. Well, so is... But it has the advantage of producing something that's stable. Chemical energy storage. That we already have an infrastructure for delivering throughout the nation. Solar and wind power is unreliable. But if you were to use it to power artificial photosynthesis, you would then have it being converted into something that's stable and can go anywhere in the country or even the world. And it would do it very easily because it already interfaces with what we already have. And for the side, I'm watching the test system. It's at 95% installed at the moment. So for a steel nomad. Anyway. Oh, wow, hang on. I think 3D Mark crashed. Well, that's annoying. Anyhow, I lost my train of thought a little bit with that aside. But yeah, just artificial photosynthesis, using things. Oh, yeah, with the whole byproduct stuff. That's what I was talking about. From the meats. See, now I could use the recall thing, but that wouldn't help. Because like screenshots wouldn't help me there. You don't have those. Oh, that's right. So let's say we could do that, so that we could convert, so that we could get all the hydrocarbons we need that way, right? Okay, that's great, because now we don't need to use the natural fossil fuels. Could reduce that industry, and plenty of energy companies, by the way, would just like convert to doing it. I mean, because they just want to go where it will make them money, where it will be economically efficient. That is a reality I think a lot of people want to ignore. But anyhow, I mean, they're energy companies, not oil companies, not natural gas companies. They're energy companies, all right? They understand that. Anyhow, but there is something that if we stopped drilling would be a problem. In fact, a major problem. And while I try not to go political, I'm going to say this administration did such an asinine thing with selling the strategic helium reserve. Helium is legitimately a very scarce resource on Earth. And there are things that we do need it for, okay? Not just party balloons. There's a lot of science that we do need it for. And also MRI machines. It's necessary for those. Okay? You can't get around that. So the idea of just selling it off so we don't have a store of it is a problem. And that's what they decided to do. I don't know. Maybe they figured it'll help balance the budget because the government will do stupid shit if it lets them claim that. I'm sorry, it really is just such a dumb thing. But how do we get helium? Because the thing about helium is it is so light, its density is so low, it will actually float all the way up to the top of the atmosphere, which is far enough away for its mass that the Earth's gravity no longer holds it and it just vents into space. I'm dead serious. If you were to somehow track the helium from a balloon, or if you breathe it in, so you get a really high voice for a little bit, if you were to track the helium exiting your body, then it would just go straight into outer space. It would just go up and up and up and up and leave the Earth. Okay, very much. You don't want to get rid of this. You don't want to waste it. How do we get it then? Because obviously you can't be pulling it out of the atmosphere. We get it out of oil wells and natural gas wells. We will never be able to stop drilling because there are certain resources. That's the only way we get it. That we have to go underground to find. So there's a certain reality there. It's the fifth quarter for oil and natural gas wells. It is that thing where it's like, yes, even if we do come up with a way to synthesize this stuff efficiently, so we don't need to be doing that, we still need to do it because there's still things to get out of it that we do need. And by the way, the 3D Mark got to 96%. We're not gonna be able to do that and see how it goes. There it is. But yeah, I mean, it's with the AI stuff, we're going to hit that point as well, I think, we're going to realize, I think, eventually that it is not actually beneficial because the amount of energy it takes for some of the stuff to run. I mean, it's like if you're running it locally, that's one thing. But we're talking about some systems where they are fully backed. They're fully running on data centers that I think it might be Microsoft. I don't remember. Some company wants to build a data center next to a nuclear power plant so it can have as much power as it needs. You cannot be in favor of that and be like, oh, we have to do things to help the environment. It's like, this is terribly inefficient. What are you doing? And I just want to also add this. I am fully in favor of doing things to improve efficiency. Okay? I really am. And that's part of the reason why some of this stuff annoys me so much, is that it's like, you're talking about doing things that are inherently inefficient. Why are you doing them? I mean, it's like, I thought you care about this stuff. We do. Then stop doing what you're doing. Stop trying to grow the meat in a lab. Grow cows. Because, as I said, there's the other benefits there. And it's also, here, let me give another example. This was, where did I see it? It might have been in the magazine that I get. It might have been somewhere else. And I'll try to end it on this one, where they were talking about large-scale battery systems that you'd put on a train and be able to have that train, because we've got rail tracks for a lot of the country, not everywhere, but a lot of it. So the idea being that you could run that into a disaster area to provide emergency power if a bunch of lines are down, because sometimes just hooking up a power source in the right place, that's all you really need. Where it's like you lost connection to the main power plant, but if you can run it in a different way. Or just or maybe the power plant was taken out, so it was damaged or shut down, so you need to just connect something new up. This seems like a lovely idea, but it's also really stupid, because batteries catch on fire. And when they do, you kind of can't do anything about that. It's like when a electric vehicle starts on fire, fire departments just keep people away from it. They can't put it out. It burns too hot, and the chemistry involved, it's not worth trying to spray any water on there. It's just worth protecting people so they don't get burned and keeping things that might ignite as well away from it. That's all they can do. It's like the whole, a building is a building that's on fire. Sometimes you just destroy the building. That's what you do, because that is more likely to preserve surrounding buildings than that building. Like, it can be lost. Hook and ladder. You used to refer to fire stations as hook and ladder stations because buildings actually had loops on them that they would take hooks on poles, hook onto that, and just tear the building down. They would just pull on the front of the building and it would all collapse down to the street, because that would disperse the fire, cooling it, and actually make it less likely to spread. And it's like, you have that issue. And it's like, okay, so you have people that want to put massive batteries, way bigger than what's on an electric vehicle, on a train. In which case, a train may only have a handful of operators on there, and can go for hundreds of miles away from the nearest fire station. So you could have this thing potentially ignite in the middle of nowhere, starting a forest fire? This seems like a very bad idea in every sense, but it's what people are thinking, hey, we should do this. Compare that to, there's been research done, and I think they've actually built some as prototypes. I'm not certain. But shipping container-sized nuclear reactors. And for anyone thinking that that's not reasonable, no, it actually is. I mean, think about like a submarine. Now, true, nuclear-powered submarines can be pretty big, but still, we do have small-scale but still powerful nuclear reactors. They do exist. And there is a concerted effort to make some that would be shipping container-sized, because you could have, it might only be enough to power a neighborhood, but you could take that, have it power a neighborhood, and just like bury it in the ground nearby and have it connected to the power grid. And part of the design is also these things are self-contained. They don't need any external maintenance. But it's also, once they're spent, they're spent. You can just leave them there. You don't need to worry about moving them away. At least that was the hypothetical. I don't know if what has, and I'm pretty sure stuff has been built. I could be wrong on that, though. I don't know if what has been built, assuming it has, is at that level. Okay, where you could just leave it like that. That would be neat if that is the case. But that would be far more sensible to put on a train, because you can shut those things down. And when shut down, they're safe. I mean, you have the control rods all the way in. There would be very minimal, like insignificant levels of fission going on. There's no risk of a nuclear explosion, by the way. Those things are completely separate. But you could do that. And also, these things are going to potentially last 10, 20 years. Be in use. So you shut it down, it'll last longer. But it's like, it would be safer, more powerful, and last longer than a battery, than these massive batteries. But that's what they talk about they want to do. It also seems stupid to me because you would need it to be, you're taking a rail track, because the thing would have to be parked on that. I mean, in theory, though, you would just need some way to get it off and put a battery or nuclear power, take it off, because you don't want to be blocking a track that could be used for bringing in other supplies or bringing people out. I mean, it was one of those ideas where it's like, if you stop and think about it, this actually doesn't make sense in various ways, especially with the battery. I mean, it's kind of like how, and I know I said stop, but, and also at 98%, but it's not going to happen. There was something where they wanted to investigate, and they tried investigating what would be the most effective for AI with trucks, semi-trucks. And what they found was, yeah, The AI isn't great enough to navigate for going left and right, but for controlling speed is great. So if we could have this system where we don't need to worry about turning, where it's just like part of the system, the AI doesn't have to manage that. It's just managing speed, it would be great. And people like, so you spend all this time to come up with the concept of trains, where you're on tracks that they turn you left and right. You don't turn left and right, they turn you. And you're just controlling how fast and slow you're going. Yeah. Yeah, that's what people did. Now, to be fair, I do understand the whole still trying to investigate, but it is also one of those, can we get an audit of how you actually spent your grant money? Because it's like, what? How long did it take you? How much did you have to spend to come up with this kind of obvious conclusion that we should just be using trains, or rather use them more? Yeah, it's just, this is also part of the reason why Microsoft Recall, actually I don't remember if it's being called Microsoft Recall, Windows Recall, it's just dumb. Because it's like, if you stop and think about it, you can see all these issues, but how much money do you think Microsoft is spending on making this? But hey, they're making all that money because they've got the massive data centers that, for the time being, is what you need for some AI. Yeah, I mean, it's eventually, I think we will see. I'm trying to think how best to put it. It's either going to be how AI will die as a Microsoft-backed kind of thing, or Google-backed, or Amazon-backed, and so on, will be when it is more easily accessible on your local computer. So, like, having things run just on your GPU, or having things run just on the, I think it's NPU is what AMD is calling their thing. Yeah, when that is achieved, you might see that, but there still is some stuff where it's like, no, because the training would still need to be done brute force, essentially, on massive data centers. What's being run locally has already benefited from that training. So, but it's like, once we reach certain levels with that, and it is more democratized as far as the access goes, then you might see, but until then, it would take people waking up and realizing that, we don't need to do it this way. And that this is such a waste of energy compared to other things. I guess one way to put it is this. While yes, I'm not saying I want to give up computers. I want to give up the internet that is backed by data centers, various data centers, but it is one of those, the amount of energy being spent on data center and that level of computing is so great. If you were to stop that, what kind of environmental benefit would there be? Now, to be clear, I don't want to do that. I think that would be foolish. I just think we need to be more efficient with how we do things and what we apply things to. More efficient in the technology. Yeah, more efficient in the technology that we're using, and more efficient in the applications of that technology. That's what I meant. So I consider AI to, in many cases, be inefficient. That's kind of what my rant has been. So I wouldn't want to use it on such large scales. I understand there are certain things you need to do that, but it's still like the ChatGPT where they show off the AI trying to tutor a kid in math. There was no way I'm okay with that for multiple reasons. For one thing, what I think what the AI was saying was not helpful. I mean, it's like, which of these three sides of a triangle is the hypotenuse? Is it this one? Well, you're almost right. It's like, no, he's wrong. I'm sorry, there's three. Only one is the hypotenuse. There's three sides. One is the hypotenuse. And he said it, and he guessed a different one. He was wrong. It's not, well, you were close. No, you were wrong. I'm sorry. I get, don't just say you're wrong, but it's like, don't say you're close. That's not a good kind of reinforcement there, because it's like, it is incorrect. This isn't horseshoes and hand grenades where close counts. But still is, in that video, it was like the kid is next to the dad. Why is the dad not just tutoring? I was like, that would be so much more efficient than running this question back to a data center to spend so much energy to figure out what the situation is, figure out what the question is, figure out what the answer is. I'm saying, versus the dad just going, no, that's not it. Do you know what the definition do you remember what the definition of the hypotenuse is? I was like, doing it that way to try to build the kid up to finding the answer himself. It's like, to do that, or have the kid go to a tutor at the school. I mean, I was one for years when I was in college. It's like, you have these other options that would be so much more efficient and also better for the kid. as well. I mean, just because I do believe human interactions can be better than especially when it is father and son. It's going to be better in many ways than interfacing with this computer. But it's like, why is anyone thinking this is a good idea? Well, that has been this week's rant. I am sorry for doing this, but it's just seriously, some of this stuff is just so stupid that I can't help. I have to just talk. Anyhow, have a great Memorial Day, everyone. I'm thinking I'm gonna watch Patton this week. I got more World War II era movies, good movies for this than that. But I think it's been a while, and it is a good movie. It's such a good movie, so I do want to watch that. So yeah, I shall see you next week, and yeah, see you then.